The notification popped up on my phone while I was debugging code at 2 a.m. Ethan, you're just a stepping stone. Duke gets me in ways you never could. My fiancée Isabella had accidentally sent her private message to me instead of her best friend Lila. I stared at the screen, my coffee growing cold. 3 years together, and this is how I find out I'm being replaced. Not through a conversation or even a proper breakup, through a misdirected text meant for gossip. My name is Ethan Clark, and I built my tech startup from nothing. While Isabella posed for Instagram photos in our Seattle penthouse, I worked 18-hour days creating software that actually mattered. But apparently, that made me boring compared to Derek Duke Mathers, some flashy business coach who drove a leased BMW and wore designer suits he couldn't afford. I screenshotted the message before she could delete it. Then I waited. Isabella stumbled in around 3 a.m., reeking of expensive perfume and lies. Her blonde hair was perfectly styled despite the late hour. She never came home looking disheveled unless it was calculated for her authentic morning posts. "Hey, babe," she whispered, sliding into bed like nothing had happened. "Have a good night with Lila?" I asked, not turning around. "Oh yeah, just girl talk. You know how it is. I knew exactly how it was. And tomorrow she'd know that I knew." The next morning, Isabella was already performing her morning routine for her phone camera when I walked into the kitchen. She had 200,000 followers who hung on her every staged moment of authentic living. "Good morning, beautiful souls," she cooed at her phone. "Starting my day with gratitude and green juice. Remember, you deserve the luxury you dream of." The irony wasn't lost on me. She'd never paid for a single luxury item herself. "Isabella, we need to talk," I said once she finished recording. She set down her phone with an annoyed sigh. "Can't it wait?" "I have a brand partnership call in an hour." I held up my phone, showing her own words back to her. "Is this why you've been so busy lately?" Her face went pale, then immediately shifted to defiance. "Ethan, I can explain." "Explain what? That you've been shopping for my replacement? That Duke gets you in ways I don't?" She crossed her arms, her vulnerability vanishing. "Maybe he does. When's the last time you took me somewhere worth posting about? When's the last time you made me feel special instead of just bankrolling my life? So this is about money? This is about you treating me like an accessory instead of a partner." "Duke sees my potential. He believes in my brand." I almost laughed. "Your brand? You mean the brand I've been funding for 3 years? I built my following myself. With the camera equipment I bought, in the apartment I pay for, wearing clothes purchased with my credit cards." Isabella's eyes flashed with the cruelty I'd glimpsed in her private messages. "You think you own me because you pay for things?" Duke's already talking about getting me my own place. A real partnership, not this sugar daddy arrangement. That stung, and she knew it. "Fine. If that's how you see it, maybe Duke can take over the payments starting today." "Maybe he will." She grabbed her designer purse, another gift from me, and headed for the door. "I'm staying at Lila's tonight. We can figure out the details later." After she left, I called my best friend Megan, a photographer who'd been documenting Seattle's tech scene for years. She'd never liked Isabella, though she'd been too polite to say so directly. "She actually said that?" Megan asked after I filled her in. "The stepping stone thing?" "Accidentally texted it to me instead of Lila." "Jesus, Ethan, I'm sorry, but honestly, you're better off without her." "Easy for you to say. You're not the one getting publicly humiliated." "What do you mean publicly?" I pulled up Instagram and showed her Isabella's latest story, a photo of her and Duke at some upscale restaurant, his hand possessively on her thigh. The caption read, "Sometimes the universe sends you exactly what you need when you need it most." "She posted this an hour ago," I said. "Her followers are already asking who he is." Megan studied the photo with her professional eye. "Look at the background. That's canless. Dinner for two there is at least $400. Money he doesn't have." I looked him up, Derek Mathers filed for bankruptcy 2 years ago. His business coaching is just a fancy way of saying unemployed. So he's using her for her connections, and she's using him to make you jealous. Except I'm not jealous. I'm pissed. Megan grinned. Good. Pissed is useful. What do you want to do about it? Over the next week, Isabella escalated her campaign. She started subtly trashing me in her Instagram stories. Nothing direct enough to be called slander, but plenty of hints about toxic relationships and financial manipulation. Her followers ate it up, sending her supportive messages about leaving. Her controlling ex. The problem was, some of those followers were connected to my business world. I started getting concerned calls from investors who'd seen the posts. Isabella knew exactly how to weaponize her platform, but she'd forgotten that I knew her platform better than she did. I'd helped set up all her analytics, managed her brand partnerships, even written the contracts for her sponsored content. I knew every dirty secret about her authentic lifestyle. That's when Megan and I decided to fight back. Look at this, Megan said, scrolling through Isabella's DMs on her laptop. She left herself logged in on your computer. The messages were damning. Isabella bragging to other influencers about her exit strategy from our relationship. Conversations with Duke about moving in together once she handled the Ethan situation. Most revealing were her messages with brands, promising to deliver authentic breakup content that would drive engagement. She'd turned our relationship into content before it was even over. This is gold, I said, screenshotting everything. It gets better. Megan pulled up another thread. Look at her messages with Duke. The conversation revealed Duke's real plan. He was coaching Isabella on how to maximize her settlement from me. They'd researched Washington State's domestic partnership laws, looking for ways to claim financial support. Duke was positioning himself as her business manager, taking a percentage of whatever she could extract from me. They're running a con, Megan said. Then let's give them something to con. We spent the weekend preparing our counterattack. Megan, with her connections in Seattle's social scene, started quietly spreading the real story. Not gossip, facts. Duke's bankruptcy filing. The timeline of his relationship with Isabella overlapping with ours. Screenshots of their planning sessions. Meanwhile, I documented everything Isabella had taken from our shared accounts. Designer clothes, jewelry, even the professional photography equipment she claimed to have bought herself. All purchased with my money, all receipts saved. Isabella made the first public move at a startup launch party that Thursday. I wasn't planning to attend, but Megan convinced me we needed to control the narrative. She's going to be there with Duke, Megan said, playing the happy new couple while painting you as the bitter ex. We need to flip the script. The party was at a trendy South Lake Union venue, packed with tech entrepreneurs and local influencers. Isabella had dressed for maximum impact. A red dress that photographed beautifully, Duke in a suit that probably cost more than his monthly rent. They were holding court near the bar, Isabella telling a carefully edited version of our breakup to anyone who'd listen. I caught fragments as we approached. Financial control, emotional manipulation, finally free to be myself. Ethan, Isabella's voice carried across the room when she spotted me. I didn't expect to see you here. The conversation around her stopped. This was the moment she'd been building toward, the public confrontation that would cement her victim narrative. Isabella. Duke. I nodded politely. Enjoying the party? We are, Duke said, his arm tightening around Isabella's waist. Great turnout tonight. Definitely. Though I have to ask, how's the business coaching business, Duke? I heard the market's been tough lately. His smile faltered slightly. It's going well. Expanding into new areas. Like relationship consulting? I pulled out my phone, opening the screenshots Megan had prepared. Because these messages suggest you've been coaching Isabella on some interesting strategies. Isabella's face went white. Ethan, what are you doing? Just sharing some authentic content. I held up the phone, showing her messages about the exit strategy and Duke's percentage deal. Your followers love authenticity, right? The crowd around us had grown, phones coming out to record the confrontation. Isabella realized she was trapped. React too strongly and confirm the messages were real, or stay calm and let me control the narrative. Those are private conversations taken out of context, she said, but her voice was shaking. Context like planning to claim financial support while already living with your new boyfriend? Or context like promising brands you'd monetize our breakup? Duke stepped forward, trying to play protector. Look, man, maybe we should take this somewhere private. Why? Isabella loves public moments. She's been sharing our private business for weeks. I swiped to another screenshot. Like this message where you told her to milk the controlling X angle for content, the crowd murmured. Several people were live streaming now, and Isabella knew it. Her carefully constructed image was crumbling in real time. You hacked my accounts, she accused. You left yourself logged in. Big difference. Megan appeared beside me with perfect timing. Should I tell them about the bankruptcy filing, or do you want to handle that part? Duke's face went red. That has nothing to do with... It does when you're positioning yourself as a successful business coach while owing creditors $60,000, Megan said sweetly. The crowd was fully engaged now, watching Isabella and Duke's perfect facade collapse. Isabella tried one last desperate play. This is harassment, she announced loudly. I'm trying to move on with my life, and my ex is stalking me with fake screenshots. Fake? I opened her Instagram DMs on my phone, showing the conversation thread was still active. Should I refresh the page? Show everyone the timestamp? Isabella grabbed for my phone, but I pulled it back. The motion looked aggressive on camera, exactly the opposite of her usual composed image. That's enough, Duke said, pulling Isabella toward the exit. We don't have to listen to this. No, you don't, I called after them. But your bankruptcy creditors might be interested in those photos from Canlis. Expensive dinner for someone with no income. They fled, leaving behind a crowd buzzing with gossip and speculation. Within an hour, clips from the confrontation were circulating on social media. Isabella's comment section filled with questions about the screenshots and Duke's background. But I'd underestimated how far Isabella would go to protect her image. The next morning, I woke up to find my car vandalized. Stalker was spray-painted across the windshield, and all 4 tires had been slashed. A note tucked under the wiper read, "Back off, or it gets worse." I called the police, but there was no proof Isabella or Duke were involved. They had alibis, Instagram stories showing them at a yoga class across town during the estimated time of the vandalism. This is escalating, Megan warned when she came over to survey the damage. Maybe we should pull back. No way. They want to play dirty. I've got 3 years of dirt. That afternoon, I received a call from my lawyer. Isabella was threatening to sue for harassment, claiming I'd stolen private communications and was using them to damage her reputation. Can she win? I asked. Probably not, but she can make it expensive and time-consuming, the lawyer said. These influencer cases are tricky. Courts don't always understand the dynamics. What if I have proof she's been planning this whole thing? That the harassment claims are part of her strategy? That would change things. What kind of proof? I smiled. The kind that comes with timestamps and witnesses. That evening, Megan and I set our trap. We knew Isabella and Duke would be at the weekly influencer meetup at a downtown hotel. She never missed a networking opportunity, especially when she needed to rebuild her image. Megan went in first with her camera gear, posing as event documentation. I waited in the lobby, listening through her wireless mic as Isabella held court in the bar. The whole thing has been so traumatic, Isabella was telling a group of sympathetic influencers. He's been stalking me, threatening me, trying to destroy my reputation because I left him. Have you gone to the police? Someone asked. I'm working with lawyers. But you know how these tech guys are. They think they can hack and manipulate their way out of anything. The vandalism was definitely him, another voice asked. Isabella's voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper. I can't prove it legally, but who else would do something like that? He's obsessed with controlling me. That was the moment Duke made his mistake. The car thing was genius, he said, clearly drunk. Really sold the whole victim angle. Shh, Isabella hissed, but it was too late. What do you mean? The same influencer asked. Nothing, he's just… Duke's had too much to drink. But Duke was on a roll. I'm just saying, the timing was perfect. Right after the party thing, suddenly she's the victim instead of the one getting exposed. The group went quiet. Megan's mic picked up Isabella's panicked breathing. Are you saying you staged the vandalism? Someone asked directly. No, of course not, Isabella said quickly. Duke doesn't know what he's talking about. I know we paid that kid $50 to trash the car while we were at yoga, Duke slurred. Best $50 we ever spent. The silence that followed was deafening. Then came the sound of phones being pulled out, cameras being activated. You guys can't record this, Isabella said desperately. This is a private conversation. In a public hotel bar? One of the influencers laughed. Isabella, this is content gold. Megan signaled me through the earpiece. Time for the grand finale. I walked into the bar just as Isabella was trying to drag Duke toward the exit. The group of influencers looked up as I approached, phones still recording. Leaving so soon? I asked. I thought you'd want to stay and explain how I managed to vandalize my own car while you were posting Instagram stories. Isabella's face was pure panic now. Ethan, this isn't what it looks like. It looks like you just confessed to filing a false police report in front of a dozen witnesses with cameras. Duke tried to salvage the situation. Look, man, we can work this out. Like you worked out spending my money on designer clothes while planning to sue me for harassment? The influencers were eating this up, already crafting captions in their heads. Isabella's reputation was imploding in real time, and she knew it. You set this up, she accused. You planned this whole thing. I planned to have dinner with Megan. You're the one who decided to confess to a crime on camera. Isabella looked around at the faces surrounding her, former allies now seeing her as toxic drama to avoid. Her carefully curated network was evaporating. This isn't over, she said, grabbing Duke's arm. Yeah, it is, I replied. Check your DMS. As they fled, I sent Isabella a final message. Screenshots of Duke's conversations with other women, including one where he called her a useful stepping stone to better connections. The same phrase she'd used about me. The videos from that night went viral in the influencer community. Isabella's follower count plummeted as brands distanced themselves from the drama. Duke disappeared entirely, probably moving on to his next target. 3 months later, I was presenting my latest software at TechCrunch Disrupt when I spotted a familiar face in the audience. Isabella, looking tired and wearing clothes I didn't recognize, probably because she'd finally had to buy them herself. After my presentation, she approached me backstage. Congratulations, she said quietly. The software looks impressive. Thanks. How are you doing? I'm working on rebuilding. Different approach this time. Less lifestyle content, more authentic stuff. That's good. Authenticity suits you better. She nodded, looking like she wanted to say more. Finally, I'm sorry, Ethan. For all of it. You deserved better. We both did, I said, but we figured it out eventually. As she walked away, Megan appeared beside me. Think she learned anything? She asked. Maybe. Does it matter? Not to us. Megan smiled. Ready to celebrate? I know a place that serves great food and doesn't require performing for social media. Perfect, I said, watching Isabella disappear into the crowd. I'm done with performances. 6 months later, my software had been acquired by a major tech company for 8 figures. Isabella had reinvented herself as a business ethics consultant, speaking about the dangers of influencer culture. Duke had moved to Portland, where he was reportedly selling insurance. I never saw either of them again. But sometimes, late at night when I'm debugging code, I still think about that misdirected text message. The moment everything changed because of a simple mistake. It's funny how the truth has a way of surfacing, no matter how carefully you try to bury it.